All right, so what we're moving into today is the first of 3 different formulas that we can use in graphing. And this is called the slope formula. It's just slope. It's not slope intercept. It's just the slope. So let me grab some paper. I should have been prepped with that. What happened to my pile of paper? Oh, here. So what they're going to give us for this, and remember what I had said, oftentimes once you get to the problem, you can tell either by the equation they give you or the answers what you need to do, because sometimes the instructions are terrible. Like right here, oops, right here. And this one's okay. This one's find the slope of the line that passes through each of the given points. Well, if you see this as part of the problem, you'll know immediately that you can use that slope formula. And the slope formula is kind of weird. It's a little bit backwards. It is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And right now that doesn't mean a whole lot. We're going to take these 2 sets of ordered pair. We've got 2 and 3. That's 1 coordinate. And we've got 5, 4. That's our second coordinate, which we need if we were going to put a line on our graph. We put both those dots on and away we'd go. But in this case, if we just happen to have the coordinates and no graph, this is helpful for the GED test because you can't draw lines on the test itself. So remember, anytime you've got a coordinate pair, X, Y, X, Y. This is X1, Y1. The second one is X2, Y2. Now this starts making a little more sense. This only works if you have 2 sets of ordered pair, because otherwise you don't know what Y2 is. So we just start filling it in. We're going to start with Y2 at the top. That's 4 minus Y1 is 3 over X2 is 5 minus X1 is 2. Now it's just arithmetic. 4 minus 3 is 1 over 5 minus 2 is 3. This is your slope. So I'm going to show you something, and don't worry if this doesn't make sense at first. It's probably not going to if you either haven't seen it or haven't seen it in a really long time. So I'm going to go ahead and put these 2 coordinates on the graph. We've got 2, 3, 5, 4. So we've got 2, 3, and 5, 4. There's our line, my straight edge. See if I can line this up well. I'm the worst at lining these up. You have to be patient, and I'm not. There's our line. And we could have done that just with this information. Knowing the slope just gives us an advantage. We can figure out the slope just with that line, but right now we actually know that the slope is 1 over 3. I'm going to show you something else with slope. It can be a whole number. It could be like a 2, or and when it is a 2, it actually is 2 over 1. And anytime you're looking at slope, don't treat it like a fraction. You can reduce, I know this is so ridiculous. I just told you, don't treat it like a fraction. And now I'm going to tell you to reduce it if it can be reduced, which is treating it like a fraction. But ultimately, you do not want to take it You don't want to obliterate it. So if you've got 1/3, you cannot reduce that. The 1 is the rise. The 3, the number on the bottom, is the run. Rise over run. Rise is the y-axis. X is the run. X-axis is the run. We don't need that. So this is good information. Interesting, yes. Maybe a little out of context. That's okay. Now I'm going to show you how it works. And I think I'm going to sneeze. Hold on. Ugh, hopefully not. I'll sneeze right in the middle of this, I bet. All right, so we're looking at a 1/3 slope. And again, slope is just the steepness of the line. Rise over run, or y over x. All right, we're looking at our 2 coordinates. We're going to measure how many boxes or spaces between the 2 dots up and down. So we've got 1 at 3 and 1 at 4. So there is 1 space difference, right? Right there. That's your Y or your rise. Then you're going to measure the number of boxes or spaces this way. Did I do this wrong? Because that's 2, not 3. That didn't work. Why did that not work? 2, 3, 5, 4. Oh, because idiot here, Robyn, put this at 4. Oh my gosh. Sorry about that. Goes right there. Oh, I screwed that one up here. Let me redo it. Dang it. See, you got to count the spaces correctly. See what I did? I put it at 4. It should have been at 5. I'm going to redo that so you don't have to look at the gibberish. 2, 3, 5, and 4. That's better. You too will be able to notice if something's off very quickly as you get comfortable with this. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, hopefully I got this. All right, so let's push that one out of the screen. There we go. That's better. So again, we're back to measuring the difference in height. Basically, how tall is it? It's 1 space. That's your number on the top. Then you count the spaces side to side. 1, 2, 3. That's your bottom number. That 1/3 is your slope. That tells you how steep your line is. Why do you care? It's a good question. I have no idea why you care about the steepness of a line. However, if on the test they tell you that you need to figure out a line that has the slope of 1/2, well, you just come in and you throw a coordinate in somewhere. I'm going to go low because I had others up here. And you need to figure out where the next coordinate goes. You're going to go up 1 and over 2. You just figured out your line. So remember when I said you get on a merry-go-round and wherever you get on, you can get to the place where you want to be? This all, it doesn't matter where you begin, you can get right back around. And so if some of this makes sense, hang on to that, because no matter what information they give you, you can get to where you want to go. You don't always have to do it the way they tell you to, because there's only so much you can do when graphing a line. And really, if you have coordinates, you can do everything. If you have no coordinates, you can zero out an equation, zero out an X, and you got a Y. Zero out the Y, you've got an X. So there's always a way to get around. And again, this is probably out of context. You just got the whole kit and caboodle in a nutshell. And we'll keep doing them because it will come. So most important information for slope. Rise over run, which is y up and down over x across. And again, all you're doing is counting the boxes in between the two dots. It's really funny when you get a problem on the test and they say, use slope intercept formula to find the slope. And you're just like, well, I can see it. It's 1 over 1, 2. Count it. You don't have to do the math. If they just want you to tell them what the slope is, look at the line and tell them what it is, because you are not required to show your work. And it's a lot faster to count boxes than it is to do the whole formula. All right, let's try another one of these. Let's try one. No, let's do some positives first, and then we'll move into negatives. So let's try number 4, 4 and 1. And 7, 2. And again, we're looking at X, Y. This one is X1, Y1. The second is X2, Y2. Our formula in itself is Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. And so we're just going to take these numbers and fill in the formula. Starting with Y2, that is 2 minus Y1 is 1 over X2 is 7 minus 4. And then you do your arithmetic. Whoops, I'm almost off the screen. Sorry about that. 2 minus 1 is 1. 7 minus 4 is 3. It's going to look just like the one we did, except the dots are going to be in a different place. But the line's going to be at the exact same steepness because it's 1 over 3. So let's do 4, 1, 7, 2. 4, 1, 7, 2. And the only reason I'm doing it on the same is because these lines are going to be parallel. And that means nothing. You normally would have a completely different graph. It's just interesting. Let's see, can I do that? Look at that. They're going to go side by side forever because they're the same exact slope. So they have the exact same steepness, even though they're on 2 different parts of the graph. And the other thing is that with both of them, for this line, 2 is your y-intercept. And for this line, -1 is your y-intercept. That's all the information you ever get out of graphing. Coordinates, line, slope, y-intercept. That's it. That's the only things you're ever going to look for. So if you're comfortable with that, you got it. And it could potentially be worth 17 points. All right, let's do some more. Let's try number 3, 4, 3 and 2, 6. So we've got 4, 3, 2, 6. And again, this is our formula. This formula will be on the formula sheet. Where's my formula sheet? You do not have to memorize any of these formulas. Hold on, I know I put my formula sheet somewhere where I could reach it. Did that on purpose because I knew I'd need it. Where is it? So here is your formula sheet. And I'm going to take this up a little bit. The slope of a line, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We'll probably move into slope-intercept formula tonight. Y equals m times x plus b. M is your slope, b is your y-intercept. The reason I know why they don't call it y, because we already have y, but b is an odd one for y-intercept. And then the one that we will barely use, but you can use it if you need to, is point slope form. And that's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We will not get to this tonight. We'll get partially into this one, and we'll get all the way through this one. But they're right here. You don't have to memorize these. This is available to you on the test. All right, so let's punch these guys into the formula here. So y2 is 6 minus y1 is 3 over x2 is 2 minus x1 is 4. Oh, we're going to have a negative. That doesn't matter. You don't care. 6 minus 3, just do the arithmetic. That is 3. And 2 minus 4 is negative 2. So this is actually a good one because it changes things just a little, only in where you place it. Pull this over to the side so you can see it. So when we're looking at a graph, we're just going to punch in the coordinates they gave us. So 4 and 3. You know, and you can do this with 1. You only need 1 coordinate to find all the other coordinates. Because once you have a dot, you just count up or down 3 spaces. If it's positive, count up. If 3 were negative, count down. Just like the line on Y. Same thing for the bottom number. If it's positive, go to the right. If it's negative, go to the left. So in this case, we're going to start with the 3. And notice I just put 1 coordinate. I ignored the second coordinate. I'm going to count 3 spaces up. So 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to count 2 spaces to the left. From there, 1, 2. There's my second coordinate. And look at this. 2, 6, 2, 6. How about that? It works. It works. It's great. And let me draw a line here just for fun. I'm so bad at drawing these. I never get them lined up quite right. So what's the difference about this line? This line up here was positive. This line is because it points left.
It's negative.
Perfect. It is a negative line, which makes sense because we had a negative in the slope. It's kind of like if you have 2 negatives, it's likely going to be positive. You know, bad guy leaves town, good for town. Or if you have one or the other that's negative, the line's going to be negative. If they're both negative, it'll be positive. If they're both positive, it'll be positive. So you just learned everything there is to know really about graphing. What do you think? So far, so good?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of interesting. It's like, wait, I don't even have to understand all of it. I just have to know that if I've got a spot or a dot, I can do whatever I want with it because I can work my way around. Or if they give me a line, I can figure out the slope because I just need to count the squares in between. And I can always figure out the intercept by drawing the line across y. So the only things you really ever have to find ever are the coordinates or the slope or the y-intercept. And you have to have two to get the third, if that makes sense. Like any formula, you have to have enough information to fill it all out. So it's kind of cool. All right, let's do. I'm going to do number 16. See if this one turns out to be vexing or not. It is -7, -4, and 3, 3. Okay, so we've got our two coordinates, always remembering that it is x, y, x, y. And because we have two, this set is x1, y1, and this set is x2, y2. Then our formula, which we can pull off of our formula sheet so we don't have to memorize it, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And with this information, we're just going to fill it in. Start with y2, that's 3, minus y1 is -4. Oh, this is going to be easy. x2 is 3, minus x1 is -7. Now we're going to do the arithmetic. Both of these are double negatives, which means they actually turn into
Positive.
Yep, it's basically 3 plus 4 is 7, and 3 plus 7 is 10. That's a big slope. Usually they're, around 1 over 3, maybe 2 over 3. We've got 7 over 10. So I'm going to take the negative coordinates just for fun, or the negative ordered pair, -7 and 4. So we come screaming over to -7 and then down to -4. So our coordinate goes right there. Now our slope is 7 over 10. And they're both positive, so we're going to go up and to the right. We're going to start with the rise. That's 7. We're going to go up 7 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to go to the right 10 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So our new coordinate is going to be, anyone want to take a guess? This is how you know you did it right. What was that second coordinate? Boom, 3 and 3. Look at that, it's 3 and 3. It works. Holy smokes. You've already got the slope here. The only other thing that you would ever need is the y-intercept. And you do that by connecting the dots. That's going to be boom. And so wherever the line crosses y, which would be at 1, that's your y-intercept. I should say intercept. I shouldn't just put y because that would be confusing. Y inter equals 1. Cool. That's everything you need to know about graphing. Weird. Now you just need practice. And you need practice going from different places on that merry-go-round, because you can always get back to the spot you want to be in. It's just a matter of being comfortable enough to say, okay, I see what they are asking me to do. Oh, wait, I look at the answers. I know what information I need to figure out. And again, you don't have to actually follow their instructions if it's easier for you to figure it out a slightly different way. Because again, no work has to be shown. So do what makes the most sense to you and what is fastest for you. All right, let's try some more of these. Looking at, we don't really have any bad ones. Let's try 18. 18 looks like it's going to end up in a bizarre place on the graph. We'll see. We've got 9 and -6. That's coordinate 1. And then we have -7 and -8. And again, we're looking at XY, XY. This side is X1, Y1. This side is X2, Y2. And our formula is Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. And now we're just going to fill in the formula. Starting with Y2, that's -8, minus Y1 is -6, over X2 is -7, minus X1 is 9. So this one will be interesting. It's not as easy. The arithmetic just isn't, because you've got negative and positive numbers. The first thing, looking at the top, you've got -8 minus -6, which means that double negative turns into a plus sign. So you have -8 plus 6, which gives you -2. And then on the bottom, you've got -7 minus 9. So this is going to be negative for sure. And in this case, when they're both negative, you just add the numbers together and the answer is negative. So 7 and 9 is 16. All right, remember when I said don't treat it like a fraction, but sort of do? I think I just said don't treat it like a fraction, but reduce. In this case, we've got 2 over 16. We can reduce that because this is going to be off of our chart in no time. So let's cut them in half because they're both even. This is really going to be -1 over -6 or -8, excuse me. -1 over, I made a mess of that one. Wow. -1 over -8. It is okay to reduce. You just don't want to break the fraction up if it comes out as a fraction. All right, now we're going to grab our graph. And I'm just going to pick one of these. It doesn't matter which one. I'm just going to grab the -7, -8. Does not matter which one you choose. So we come over to -7 on X, down to -8 on Y. There's our first coordinate. And because we have the slope, which is -1 over -8, we're going to go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have picked that one. I'm going to be off the chart. Yeah, I should have picked the other one. Let me do 9 and -6, because this one's going to be way out here somewhere, even though we reduced it. So let me grab the 9 and the 6. So that will be 9, -6, That'll be right here. And then again, we've got -1. So we're going to take it down to 1 and then -8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did I go down? No, I went down 2. Right there. See, I got to stop putting these in the wrong place. I'm going to confuse everybody. Now look what happened. This was the one I started with that we were given. Do those 3 look like they're lined up? They're all in the same line. I'm covering up the one I made a mistake on. Yeah, check this out. Look at that. It's crazy how they all line up. And your y-intercept is -7. So that's one of the coordinates we were given initially. This is the other coordinate we were given initially. This is the coordinate we found doing the slope. And they all line up. So it's kind of nice. It's a way that you can check your work. If they all show up on the same line, you know you're on the right track. What are you guys feeling about this?
Anxiety.
Oh, I don't want that. I got to get you off of the anxiety. And you don't have to rush through these. But this probably will be the majority of problems you have on the test. And majority, I mean, if you have 40 questions, it means 8 of them could be graphing. You know, you might have 1 or 2 probability. I would prefer you don't, but I'm sure you will. You'll have a couple of geometry. You'll have a couple of inequalities. You'll have a couple of quadratics, but you'll have the majority, like 8 or so, graphing questions. And the really good thing about it is as we go, you've already done everything you need to do. You've seen it. There's not going to be something new to throw at you. There's a couple different formulas, but it just means another way of getting to the point you need to get to. But you've seen we can do this if we have one coordinate. We can figure this out if we have the slope. We could even probably figure it out. Well, absolutely, if we have the y-intercept. That just means that is another coordinate on the line. And if we've got that, we can figure out everything else. So it's practice. But it doesn't get much more complicated than what we just did. It's a surprise, isn't it? We all thought it was going to be horrible. I thought it was going to be horrible. And then it kind of made sense. I was like, wait a minute, this is not terrible. All right, so let's talk through a couple of these together as a class. Just because I want you to be reasonably comfortable. All right, let's do -2 and 1. That's our first coordinate. And -3, 3. And then I'll put this formula here because you always have access to it, over x2 minus x1. Geometry is full of these formulas. The nice thing about formulas is you just put stuff where they go in the formula. The formula will never change. And so you take the information they give you and plug it in and then calculate it. It doesn't necessarily bode well, especially in geometry. There's not a real good way to check to see if everything's correct. You just have to go back and make sure. Yeah, that was the long part of the triangle. Okay, yep, I've got it. All right, so what's the first thing we're going to do? We've got our coordinates and we've got our formula. And you can totally take a guess and not worry about it. You are in a classroom where you're getting ready to learn it. So. Yes, 3 minus 1. So y2, 3, minus 1 is y1. So 3 minus 1 over x2 minus x1. x2, -3, minus x1, -2. And this is where it gets the most sketchy. You just have to remember whenever you've got two negatives together, it's as if it were a plus sign. So they go away and it's just plus. So 3 minus 1 is 2. -3 plus 2 is -1. This is your slope. Then you grab your handy dandy graphing paper and you pick one of your coordinates. Let's go with -2, 1. So you plot that on your graph. So go to -2 on X, +1 on Y. That's your first coordinate right there. Our slope is 2 over -1. Rise, whoops, I just moved that. Rise over run, or Y over X. So we're going to go up 2 because that's a +2. So from our coordinate up to 1, 2, and then our run or our sideways is -1. So from here, we're going to go over to the left 1 space. This is our second coordinate. We can double check to see. Theirs was -3, 3, -3, 3. It matched. You're actually essentially done there, unless they want you to give them the y-intercept or something. And this is a good one to do y-intercept for, because they're both up here in the corner. And we're just going to draw a long enough line that it cuts across y, and our y-intercept is -3. We did it all. And I'm going to show you something as we move into slope-intercept form. The one that you will use most often, the equation you use most often, is y equals m times x plus b. M is the slope. B is your y-intercept. X and Y are just your points. And did I write that so you can see it? Oh, sort of. And from that one we just did, we can say y equals slope was 2 over -1 x plus our y-intercept was -3. That's where it crossed. Look at that. We just filled out our y or our slope intercept form. That's really the majority of information that you get from those, or that you're looking to answer with those. Cool, right? Sort of. It's kind of cool. Do you want me to go over any more of these with the other, with that original, this? Or are you feeling like, all right, I'll go ahead and try this one? Okay, I see a couple heads saying no. So let's do a couple more of these. Let's go with 2, -1, and 4, 2. So these are our coordinates. And again, always X first, Y second, X first, Y second. But if you have 2 sets of ordered pair, the first set is X1, Y1, the second is X2, Y2. Then your slope formula is Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. And now we've got the information we need to plug into our formula. Y2 is 2 minus Y1 is -1. We're going to end up adding those together. They're double negatives. And then X2 is 4 minus X1 is 2. Now we'll do the arithmetic. 2 double negative is plus. 2 plus 1 is 3. 4 minus 2 is 2. This is kind of what I mean when I say don't treat it like a fraction. That's an improper fraction. Normally, if you were doing fractions, you'd turn it into a mixed fraction. Don't do that. Leave it as 3/2 because you want your slope to be rise over run. So you want 2 numbers. Rise over run. And your rise is your Y and your run is your X axis. So up or down 3, in this case, it's up because it's positive, and then to the right, 2. So we grab our handy dandy graph, and I'm going to pick 4 and 2 because it doesn't matter which one you pick. So over 4 up 2, there's 1 coordinate. Our slope is 3/2. So starting with our coordinate, we're going to count 3 spaces up and then 2 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Our second coordinate goes right here. And again, you can draw a line with 2 coordinates. So we draw that line.
Robyn, I have a question.
Yes.
How do you get 2 minus -1 is -1?
Oh, when you've got, this is a good question. Whenever you have any number minus a negative number, those 2 negatives side by side, they turn into a plus sign. Kind of like this one moves and goes boom, just like that.
Okay, but just for this. 'Cause
Just
then-
any math. Whenever you've got 2 negatives in a row, they have to be right next to each other like this.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
okay.
minus negative.
Gotcha. It just computed. Okay.
It is, it's confusing. It's
I was
nice
like,
when it-
that's not right.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's nice because it makes things easier. It
Okay.
generally turns them back into positive numbers, which is really nice. But yeah, that's exactly what happens when you've got the 2 side by side. They just form a plus sign. Yeah, those
So
are,
when you say, wait, so when you say it forms a plus sign, to me in my head, the answer would be 3. And I know that's wrong.
no, you're right. It is 3.
It is 3?
Yep, because it's 2 plus 1.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I thought, for
Yeah,
some reason, I thought it was -1.
no, you are correct. These two are exactly the same.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
it's weird.
for the purpose of this, you would put -1, not 3.
Nope, you put three
No.
right there.
You put 3. Okay, see, I'm confused.
It is confusing, and negative numbers are always confusing.
Yeah, it confuses the heck out of me. Okay,
Yes, it's annoying.
okay,
And it's annoying because you probably get the rest of it, and this is what throws you off.
yeah,
And it's like, well, I'd get it if I knew whether it was -1 or 3.
right. Okay,
But yeah, when you've got two in a row, just kind of envision them coming together into the shape of a plus sign. So they both disappear and become a plus. And then it's just 2 plus 1. And that's what happened right here. It was, we had 2 minus -1. And so it ended up being 2 plus 1, 3. And the other one was easy. It was 4 minus 2. Those we like. It's like, can everything be positive? It's easier. Good questions. Because it can be really vexing. It's like, what? That is not how it works. All right, so we've got our 2, and we got our second one because we had our slope. And we just counted up 3 and over 2. Then we can draw the line. And again, on the test itself, you won't be able to draw the line. If they want you to answer something with the line, they'll give you the graph with the line already on it. And hopefully what you get, digressing a little bit, hopefully you get something like this. And they say, what's the slope? Easy. Pick a number that, or pick a dot that goes through an intersection on the line. Count how many spaces up and down between the 2 dots, and then how many spaces across, and you've got your slope. Makes it nice. All right, let's see about this, drawing the line. Let's see. It's going to be crossing right through there. And always make your line long enough to go through the Y line or the Y axis. Because what was our second coordinate on that one? 2, -1. Right there, 2, -1, right on the line. You can always check your work on these. It's pretty amazing. And your y-intercept is -4. So if you were looking for that, you have it. And we haven't really looked for y-intercept yet. That comes with the slope-intercept form, hence that intercept. But you've already been introduced to it. You just draw the line long enough and you got it. All right. Let's see if there's another interesting one on here. Not really. I'll do number 5. And that is 2, -1 is our first ordered pair. Second is -3 and 3. Our slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Then we just fill it in. So y2 is 3 minus y1 is -1. There's that double negative again. And then x2 is -3 minus x1 is 2. And these are annoying. This is probably the worst part, is the arithmetic when you've got negatives. The top one, those 2 negatives side by side are going to turn into a plus sign. So it's 3 plus 1. So that's going to look like this. So our answer is going to be 4. Then we've got -3 minus 2. This means the answer is going to be negative. We know that. And in this case, we just add the two numbers together because they're both negative numbers. The answer is going to be negative, and then we just add 3 and 2. So it's -5. I don't know if that's helpful. If you find that confusing, ignore it. But if it helps you when you are dealing with subtraction and a negative number, it might be helpful. If they're both negative, the answer is going to be negative, and then you just add the two numbers together. So -5. And this is your slope, 4 over -5. And I need another graph. And I'm just going to pick 2, -1. That's where I'm going to put my first coordinate.
To make a positive.
2, -1. And our slope was 4 over -5. Rise, run. And so we start with our coordinate, and we're going to go up 4 spaces because that's positive. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to go to the left 5 because that's negative. So we're just going to jump off here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and go 5 spaces left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The test could have you place coordinates because you can use your mouse and put coordinates in. That shows up every so often. You just won't be able to draw the line on the test. That's it. We started with one coordinate. We used our slope. We've got a second coordinate. And lo and behold, it matches the other coordinate they gave us. So we kind of did the work twice, but we can check it. And so that's perfect. And then when we connect these two dots, they're going to cross right over y, and 1 is going to be our y-intercept. And that's all the information you get from graphing. Well, it's not all, but it's all the information you're going to get this week. It's kind of cool. And I think I told you the undefined line